what I've learned is like when you get nervous, like our cortisol levels go up, right? You get in the fight, fight or flight, right? And what happens is if that gets too high, you lose the sense of like it's motor cortex. You lose that ability to do something, right? It's like you're driving down the road. You can drive for 4 hours and not even think, and you like lost your time lost your sense of time, right? In golf, to get in the zone is what we call it. Like you want to play with your um, unconscious.
Welcome to Mosaic Minds, the podcast where every episode is a colorful blend of perspectives, ideas, and conversation. Each week, our diverse team of hosts brings their unique backgrounds, experiences, and interests to the table. Mosaic Minds is your invitation to join the conversation to see the world through a kaleidoscope of viewpoints. So grab a seat, tune in, and let the mosaic unfold before you. Welcome back to another episode of Mosaic Minds Podcast. My name is Nick. This is Jason. And today we are joined by Ezra Evans. He is a pro golfer and a business owner, and he has an incredible backstory. Normally, I'd probably give a more in-depth intro, but after learning about him from Jason, I'm just going to kind of let him talk for a second. So, welcome. First of all, welcome to the show, Ezra. If you could, just kind of give us a background of kind of where you started. Just kind of tell us your story, the way that that Jason kind of told me about it.
Yeah, so I grew up in Indiana. Uh, Huge basketball fan. Yeah, as most of us are. And I actually met Jason. I think I was about 17 or 18. And we used to go to Wolf Field at Indiana State and play basketball a lot, all the time. I breathed, lived basketball, like ate basketball. It was what I wanted to do. Honestly, I was. But I was a great shooter, but I wasn't very athletic. My defense was not great either, but that's neither here nor there. But Jason and my brother actually introduced me to golf. I was 20 years old at the time, and I remember going to Ray Park Golf Course in Terre Haute. And before then, it was Stu's, this little 9-hole or 18-hole par three course that we used to go play at. And I was loved the game. I had passion for basketball. I played it all the time, practiced all the time, and wanted to play somewhere, but I wasn't good enough. I could shoot the ball, but that was about it. But with golf, I I got good pretty quick. Not great, but I got good pretty quick because I started working at golf courses in Terre Haute, Indiana, and you know, thanks to Jason and my brother for introducing me to that because here I am today as a professional golfer, playing not as much as I'd like, but I've been able to see all over the U.S., all over Mexico. I currently
That's
live in
cool.
Mexico, which is awesome. I got a lovely wife, 4 children, awesome. I want to say hello to all of them: Powell, Axel, Ezra Benjamin Jr., and Noah, who's 6 months old, 5 months old, sorry, and then my wife Nayeli. So they're awesome, great support system, awesome family. But with golf, I just kind of fell in love with it and practiced and played all the time. And I think in 2014, I was in the same situation that you guys are now, where it's, freezing your butt off. It's 20 degrees outside. You're not doing any kind of golf. I remember staying at my mom's, and it was like 2 weeks in a row. It was like under 20 degrees. There was snow on the ground. And then all of a sudden, you get those days that'll be like 55 degrees out of nowhere, right? So the ice and everything's melting. And I remember going out and practicing. And then the very next night, it snowed and sleeted and everything. And then I went out there and still practiced. It was like 20 degrees outside. I went in this field that was near my mom's house to hit balls. And my hands were so cold. I was like, what am I going to do? If I want to play golf, what am I going to do? So I decided to go to Florida. So me and a couple buddies, we moved to Florida. I had like probably $300 to my name. Went down there and worked at some golf courses. I worked in the golf industry since I've been, let's see, I'm 40 years old now. I think I started when I was about 24, 23. something like that. So been in the golf industry for a long time. Went to Florida, worked as I was a caddy. I was a cart guy that comes and cleans the carts and then cleans the golf clubs, stuff like that. And played a little bit on the mini tours in Florida, but down there it's hard because if you're a caddy, you're working 7 days a week. You don't have a lot of time. It's expensive. And then I got blessed in 2019 when I met my wife. We got married, um, and I started to kind of go away from golf a little bit. Um, I found out that I could buy video games and video game consoles in Mexico and then resell them in the US for a good profit. Yeah, and that's
I remember Jason talking about. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you were the same person. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, same guy.
So if I can interject real quick before you kind of go off on that topic, man, Nick, this is a heartfelt level, man. It almost tears me up that this guy here has a phenomenally well-oiled business model of what he does. Audience that you're hearing, I've been in school a long time. I've done a lot of networking, thousands of hours, and I listen to this young man talk and the way he conducts himself and the way his ethics are strong and he does great things. Man, it almost tears me up because A, you're successful, B, you get it, and C, he won't say it, but he's helping and blessing the people that are in his organization. So sorry to preface that, but I'm going to let you kind of take it from there, Ezra.
Before we go any farther, I want to say thank you to my friend and my business partner, Jesus Torres, who he and I met about 4 years ago, and we kind of just mixed together, and we just came. We do really well with our consoles. We basically buy a lot of consoles. We sell a lot every week. We have good clients in the U.S. We buy in Mexico and resell in the U.S. And we have a lot of clients on both sides. But the business part is, I've always thought like my clients always come first, right? Like if something happens to the products that I'm shipping to them, I replace them. We replace them. But I couldn't do this without my business partner, Jesus. He's a great guy, great family man. He's awesome. He's a really good friend of mine. He's really good.
So reputation is a very important part of this.
In the video game community, it's so important, especially if you get known as a person who tries to steal off of somebody or sell something that doesn't work and you don't take care of it. I've sold stuff that works and then by the time they get it, it doesn't work. So I'm always like, okay, what can we do to fix that? And I think that's why we do so well. I feel that way. It's important in all business. Your clients are the ones that get you the money. If you don't have your clients, you don't have a job. So I'm trying to make sure that they're first, right? Even though, kind of recently we had a guy that, we didn't know, we know we sold him stuff working and checked it 3 or 4 times, right? The consoles basically. Sold it to him and then he gets it and it doesn't work. And we did it multiple times. And I was like, man, this is kind of odd, but we took care of it. That's something in our business and that's what we have to do. So I'm always like,
just real quick here, a business model perspective, Ezra. Educate the audience at large when you're buying and selling these consoles. You're not doing a lot of peripherals. You're doing more like just your consoles. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, for now, we used to buy a lot of video games.
Okay.
But it's hard to sell people 800 video games. One guy wants 3, another guy wants this. So we're like, but we found out that people always want consoles. They have their shops all throughout the U.S. that we sell to: California, Nevada, Alabama, Florida, everywhere. Indiana, that's our biggest supplier, or our biggest buyer is in Indiana, actually.
So you're more B2B kind of thing, like business to business?
Yeah. We are we buy everything, we check them, we send it to them, they clean it up, and then they post it on their website, or they sell on eBay, or they sell on Amazon, or whatever. And it's worked great.
What's your top 3 consoles that you kind of gravitate towards?
We sell the most Nintendo 64, PlayStation 2, and probably Nintendo GameCube or Nintendo Super Nintendo DS. So Nintendo's still
nice.
It's something that we all grew up with. I love
Yeah.
that stuff, man. We grew up with that. I grew up with Sega was my first console that I remember having as a child, like 8, 9 years old. It was awesome. I remember that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm a
Original
little,
Sonic the Hedgehog.
you know, sometimes we got to tell
Sega.
random stories in the theme of Mosaic Minds, but my memories were I wasn't allowed to have a Nintendo in the house, so we'd go to Doug and Carol Bean Blossom, of all people, pay pay $5 to rent the console that came with 2 controllers, and it always would come with like Duck Hunt. And then it was $2.50 a game, so my game was Super Tech Mobile. We'd put tape on our thumbs to keep from bleeding up our thumbs.
Tech Mobile, yeah.
And you always got a code that you had to have to take it to the next week of the playoffs and walk through. And then you had to put $2.50 down. So I won't say what we did with the controllers, but if we would get a bad play or whatever, we'd get a little emotional. So we always took care of them. We never broke anything or damaged anything, but it was always competitive and a fun time. So let's transition back a little bit into the golf. So educate me a little bit again, because I always I'm curious in your journey. What tour are you with? How does that look? Where do you travel with that?
So I play down here. I don't have status right now, but I went to Q school last year. I missed my card by one shot, which is kind of crazy. You go over 3 rounds of golf and you can think of one shot you could have done better. But it's called La Gira Golf Profesional Mexicana. So basically, the professional golf Mexican tour is what it's called, right? It is phenomenal. I love it. We play at great sites. The people are awesome. The entry fees are great. The payouts are great. I don't want to say too many good things about it because I don't want everybody to come down here and play on
Right,
it.
yeah.
But no, it's
That's
awesome.
fun.
Like, I mean, and people like you tell them you play down here in Mexico and you're like, you play golf in Mexico? I'm like, yeah, and we play the greatest courses. Like, it's awesome. These people are great. Unfortunately, I went to Florida a few weeks ago to play in some golf tournaments. I played well, but like 2 days before the tournament that I was playing in Florida, they called me or texted me and asked me if I wanted to go play in Merida, which is a state here in Mexico. And it's my favorite golf course in all of Mexico. It's a Jack Nicklaus design course. They asked me to play in it. It said, Ezra, we have a spot. Unfortunately, I was already in Florida. I couldn't change everything around, but they're playing next week. Actually, is it next week? I think in El Salvador. So they're playing at a different country, right? Yeah. So they play all around Mexico. Q school, so qualifying school, they have in Colombia and they have in California and then they have here in Mexico. I play the one in Mexico because I've been living here for it'll be 5 years now. So, but the tour is great. Like, I found out about it when I moved here, through a couple friends, and Josh Ratcliffe is a friend of mine, who plays in Texas. He's won on this tour. Very good player, very good. He made it to the U.S. Open last year as an alternate, so he's a very good player. Anyways, my golf actually started in Florida. I played on what we call the mini tours, and those are basically just a lot of 2-day events. Like, you pay $400 or $500, you play 2 days, you see where you get, and then how much money you get. Right? You're never going to become a millionaire on those events, but there's a lot of very good competition, especially around this time of year when nobody's playing. Right? Like, the PGA Tour just started again, but there's a lot of like people that don't play on the PGA Tour that are very good, and they play on the mini tours.
Do you ever get to bump elbows with any of the green jackets?
No, I've never. No, I do have a friend that does play on the PGA Tour, but none of the guys that's won a Masters or anything. I would love to go to Augusta.
No Phil Mickelson on your speed dial, nothing like that.
No.
Ezra, break it down a little bit for Nick. He's actually well researched. He's learned a lot about sports, but break it down. PGA Tour, ESPN, Saturday morning. Break down your tour, kind of how that logistically for the audience at large.
Like, PGA Tour would be MLB, right? The next below would be the Korn Ferry Tour, which is a feeder tour into the PGA Tour. So that'd be like AAA baseball. Like, you're almost there. You're trying to get through there, right? And then below that is basically like AA ball. I don't know if I'd even call it AA because you can still get to the PGA Tour through these other tours, right? My tour or the tour that I play on here, uh, has they give world ranking points. It's a cut. You make money, and you do qualify for other events. Like last year or 2 years ago, I played well in an event here in Mexico. I made the cut. It qualified me to play in the PGA Tour Latin America event, their final event. I didn't play well, but it was here in Mexico, and but I qualified to go to that. So all these different tours, if you play well on them, you get world ranking points, and the higher your world ranking points are, you can get into different events, things like that. But mainly the top two is PGA Tour and then the Corn Ferry. Now there's what's called the PGA Tour Americas, which involves United States, Canada, Mexico, and like South America. And then there's PGA Tour Asia. That's another great one over there that you can go to. Maybe it's just called the Asian Tour. Maybe it's not the PGA Tour, but that's another. There's so many professional golf tours around the world, but this one is very good. Only bad part is we only get to play like once every 6 weeks because there's in Mexico about 98% of all golf courses are private. Sorry. So a lot of the people do not want to give up their course for a week.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There's so many people that spend their entire lives, and spend all kinds of money and everything trying to get better at golf, or get good at golf. So like, what would you say, what was kind of your secret, do you think, that at such a young age when Jason introduced you to golf, like what was it about it that I guess made you so passionate to just kind of take charge?
Well, I kind of have like an addictive personability, which can be good and bad,
Oh man, I'm right there with you. Yes,
Right there with you.
That's
Yep.
what I always say.
Yep.
I'm like, I would say that I am an extremist. Like I do everything all the way. So whether it's a good thing or anything, I'm sorry, but go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
It's like that. Like I never started playing golf until I was 20. Like I'm playing guys that are, now I'm 40, but I'm playing kids that are 25, 26, 27 years old that's been playing since I've been 5 years old. So technically they still have the same amount of experience as me. Honestly, probably more tournament experience than I do because I didn't even start playing tournaments until maybe 8, 9 years ago, maybe less than that. So I don't have the tournament experience as they do. Do what?
Audience at large, take grasp of what this young man just said, because you got to understand, he didn't touch a golf club. I'm going to tell a funny anecdote, and then we're going to take it off the beaten path a little bit, just because in the thread of the podcast, Mosaic Minds. So not to embarrass him, but I'm going to tell a funny story. So when we started playing golf in Terre Haute, there was a par 3. Ezra, chime in. 125 yards.
No, it's from the back
140 yards.
It's 140, 45 yards. Yeah.
Over by the Coke machine on the side of the side road. How far was it? One more time.
Number 13, about 145 yards.
Can I say, or am I wrong? What did you tee off with? What type of club did you tee off?
I hit a 3-wood on that hole.
Okay, you hit a 3-wood. How far do you hit a 3-wood now?
About probably 265, 270.
Wow. Yeah. So this guy would literally slice the ball right to left. It would hit the fairway like it was hitting the 465 in downtown Indianapolis, and the ball would go like 50 yards over the green. And now he's hitting it, I think he said 255. So that's the progression. And what I will take credit for is nothing to do with his talent. What I will take full credit for is the etiquette and the way you conduct yourself on a golf course. And I'm going to tip my cap to my dad for that. We've all done it, and I'm not pointing a finger at him, but I've done it. I'm not going to say he has, the slamming of the clubs, the saying stuff. There's a lot of depth in that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that I still get angry. I'm not going to lie. I still get angry, but it's not as bad as it used to be. When I was younger, it was throwing clubs, it was beating trees. It was all this. There was a tree that at Ray Park, I hooked it into this tree. I remember one day, I probably was like 24, 25. I was taking my club and beating this tree. And one of my old coaches said, "Hey, we're going to call that the Ezra tree." And from then on, he's called it the Ezra tree because I used to try to chop it down with the thing. But I would never let my children do that. Never. And I actually work with a mental golf coach it's it's called mental golf type. So any of you golfers that are listening, plug that in your website, look it up, mental golf type, go in and see what kind of mental golf type you have. I started working with Carl about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I found out a lot about myself, like a lot. And it's helped, and the number one thing for me, and I think every person, not just in golf, but in general, like your self-talk is so important. Like if you're sitting there calling yourself an idiot, you're stupid, why could you do that? After a long time, you're going to believe it. And then and for me, it's like a snowball effect. Like if I'm like, man, Ezra, that was such a stupid play. Why would you do that? And then it's a snowball. And then all of a sudden I'm, saying all these bad things to myself that I would never say to anybody else or my children or anything like that. So I'm like, why would I say that to myself?
Yeah, and anything competitive, it's easy to get in your head, and there's so much mental, such of a mental part to it. But I would think golf over a lot of sports is so mental, and I love that. It didn't even occur to me that there was mental coaches, mental health, or not mental health, but mental coaches for golf. For mindfulness kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I know that movie Bagger Vance.
Oh yeah,
Legend of Bagger Vance.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah, so I'm sure you know this, but so that's based off of the holy book, the Bhagavad Gita. Did I say it right? Bhagavad Gita. Anyway, it's like the Hindu holy book or whatever.
Just agree with you, Ezra.
Yeah.
Sure.
They're all about. That's all about the mindfulness and that kind of thing. I think that's really cool. What is it about golf that makes it so intense when it comes to mentality?
For golf, it's like in every other sport that you play, you're basically reacting, right? Like if somebody passes you the ball in basketball, you're catching, you're shooting, you're not thinking, right? In golf, we have so much time between each shot. We have so many things coming into our minds that's like, and then you get over a shot. And it's funny because in golf, what I've learned is like, when you get nervous, like our cortisol levels go up, right? You get in the fight or flight, right? And what happens is if that gets too high, you lose the sense of like, it's motor cortex. You lose that ability to do something, right? It's like you're driving down the road. You can drive for 4 hours and not even think. And you like lost your sense of time, right? In golf, to get in the zone is what we call it. Like you want to play with your unconscious mind, right? Like in basketball, Jason, you remember when you couldn't miss. You weren't thinking of your stroke. You weren't thinking of, I need to get over here. You just reacted. And in golf,
like it's a 55-gallon drum. Yep, as opposed to a small whatever the cylinder is. Yep, absolutely.
In golf, it's so hard to do that because you have so much time in between each shot. Each shot will take 20, 30 seconds, and then you're done. And you got a couple minutes to walk and, check this out and do that. But you do get in the zone in golf. I've been there quite a few. I was there recently, not too long ago, which is fun because you're not thinking of everything else. And in golf, if you're thinking of 50,000 things, you're not going to do good. I don't care how good.
We've had some high-level professional athletes on here, and Rick Barry comes to mind. Greatest foul shooter, hands down, in my opinion, of all time. He was talking about technique, and it's not mindless, but it's just muscle memory, and then it's preparation. I think what separates golf for me than most other sports, and I agree with you, but I'm going to liken it to fishing. That 3-iron that goes X amount of distance, yeah, you're fine and dandy, but when you got wind blowing at you 25 degrees, you're 1,800 feet above sea level, and now you're even, or you're in 7,000 feet elevation. That golf ball travels further. So I think the challenge to golf is I'm not even going to mention my yardage because I'm so out of it. But point I'm making is like that club travels this far, but how good am I? Let me ask you a question. I'm going to throw you a random softball question, then I want to take it a little bit different path with you. Tiger said something that I had never heard before, but his dad was saying, let me get this right. If I remember the quote right, Tiger was saying that his dad was big on a clock. Tiger likened his calibration of his yardage with, if I'm at 9 o'clock on my backswing on the wedges, talk a little bit about what that means to the common folks that have never really played golf. And it might help them out.
It's kind of like a clock system, right? If you're looking at a person head on, right? Like, here's 12 and there's 6, right? 12 and 6, right? So if I like take my Now people do it differently with the clock system. They either use like how far they want the club head to go back or how far their hands go back, right? So if I want to put my hands at like 9 o'clock and make a swing, how far does that go? And it's just something that kind of, okay, that's the feeling of that, right? Like Bryson DeChambeau, who won the US Open last year, is very big on the clock system. He does everything from, oh, it's at 8 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock, it's 8:30, it's slightly below 10:30, and this guy's great. One of the best players in the world, obviously. But yeah, it's just a simple feeling of like, okay, from here to here creates this distance for me. I have a full shot, I have like a 3/4 shot, and then I have like a choke down on the club shot, and then I kind of go from there. But I'm a big field player, like big. Around the greens is my best part of my game. Like I'm very good short game.
It's like on the old video games.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
You wait till it gets up to
spot.
the hit the button.
Yeah.
And
Nick,
Yep.
Nick, to put this guy into perspective, not Ezra, but this Bryson guy, he's so detail oriented. Ezra, you can correct me, but he takes like 50 golf balls and puts them in a bowl of water, and the way that
Yes.
they spin, he'll reject certain balls.
Get outta
I'm not
here.
saying Ezra's not sophisticated. I'm not trying to compare the two. But this dude is like, and then he has this machine that I saw the other day that he's working on launch angle with, and he's got this machine that's almost a robot, and it gives him feedback, and he's just. But the game and technology has taken it. So let's take a step away from golf. A lot of times people have the that's where this person is. Let's reminisce just a little bit, man. When we played some basketball and we were kind of on the team or opponents. Tell the audience at large that listens to us weekly what type of player I was when we played 20 years ago.
You were a guy that I bet you, I mean, we played hundreds of games, and this guy was the guy that would get in your head more than anybody I ever met in my life. But Jason, I've seen people swing on Jason, and Jason would be like, hey, I don't want, he wasn't soft or anything. He would go at you to get you pissed off because he knew that would throw you out of your game. He did that to me, and I would get so mad. I'm like, man, I want to fight this guy so bad. He would get so mad. He would do stuff like you go up for a rebound, and he would like put his head underneath your chin or something like that. Just little kind of like a Draymond Green or a Dennis Rodman kind of stuff. Because Jason wasn't very athletic, but he could shoot the ball, he could defend, and he would piss you off. He was a guy that you always wanted on your team. Always.
So he
always.
could get you on tilt for the rest of the game.
Oh my goodness, all the time. I'm telling you, I can't count how many times there was somebody that was swinging on him or wanted to fight him, and he knew we were going to win that game when we do that. And it's funny because we were just playing pickup games at Indiana State, but Jason was a competitor, 100% competitor. He wanted to win. No matter what he does, just like all of us, no matter what we do, we want to do it 100%. Like every time I do something, like I want to do 100. And it's hard for me to like, when I'm playing my children in golf, like I try to give them handicaps, right? So I let them have a chance to win, but I never let them win. If they win, they win, but I never let them win,
A lot of truth to that, man. When you're raising a child, I'm so proud of you, man. I tip my cap, and just so the audience knows, if I'm right, or geographically, are you about 10 hours down into Mexico?
No, I'm about 15.
15. So okay, I was off. Okay.
Yeah. I'm in
so
Puebla, state of Puebla.
You're 15 hours down there, but just the values that you instill in your children, which is like you said, man, like you're not going to beat me just because you're younger. You're going to prove to me that you do. So I think I'm very proud of you for that. But I think when you look at entrepreneurially, the golf, a lot of people look at people's lifestyle and you're like, man, I've always looked at that and I'm like, man, you got the business world figured out. You're getting to golf and do what you love, man. You're very blessed to have that. How has faith for you personally been a part of your journey?
Well, back in 2018, 19, I kind of, I left religion. I left religion and I started to read the Bible on my own. And I found out so many things. And anybody listens to this podcast, I would have you go and you read the Bible from the beginning to end and don't let anybody influence you, right? And you'll find out so many things that you were taught in religion, in Christianity, in Catholicism, that they were lies. And that's kind of like, why I live the way I do today, because I studied on my own and had the Father kind of guide me. And I prayed and prayed and prayed and had him, show me. And it's like all these things that so many things, and we can get
That's so
in
true.
that
So true. There's so many not just Christians, but in all kinds of different religions that they say this is right and this is wrong. And if you ask them why, like, I don't know, because that's what the preacher says. That's what the
exactly.
minister says.
Yep.
And I love that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why I'm going to share some videos with you guys later that have you guys kind of watch them. But anyways, no, my faith is so important to me, and that's what we try to instill in our children. Like that's why we're very different. Like we don't celebrate certain holidays. We don't celebrate any of the holidays. We have a Shabbat that we follow every week. We don't eat certain foods. We don't follow any religion. We just want to do what the Messiah did, basically.
What I mean? love people.
So
Love it.
yeah. So
I think that's very important because you're not looking for credit. You're looking for it's nice to see how far we've come. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
When you knew me in Terre Haute, I was, I was early 20s. I was still a hellraiser.
Yeah.
Like to have a good time. It's like you miss those days, but you don't miss where your mind was at that time.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love helping people. I love talking to people. I love boosting people. It's great to hear an entrepreneurial, a golf story, a success story. Let me give you one opportunity. Then I want you to throw some sponsors. Then I'm going to have Nick send you out here. But talk to me a little bit about. My dad always used the term country club kid. Okay, I'm not afraid to say it. It's the kid that's 7 years old that has a $1,500 King Cobra driver. I know that was old school, but what I'm saying is like I'm not asking you to say too much, but give the audience a little bit about how you've had to work your way up the ranks. Playing at 20 is one thing, but working your way up the ranks to where you are now, and then I'm going to follow it up with one other question.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up public courses. Like grow up as in my 20s, right? Like playing Ray Park golf course, Holman Links golf course, just around Terre Haute, and I practiced and played every single day. And honestly, I probably practiced and played too much. Now I practice and play less, and I'm playing some of the best golf of my life. Because for me, it's more about mental, because I can go out there and hit every single shot you ask me to. It's just getting my mental shot, my mental game prepared for tournaments. But I think you and I talked about this. I think it's harder for those children that grow up with everything, right? Like, hey, I want you to become a golfer. I want you to do this. I want you to be a basketball player. You go into camps, you have this, you have everything that you need. And then guys like myself, like I didn't have money to play. So what did I have to do? I had to go work at golf courses. Like golf has always been expensive, but it's not as expensive as most people say. Like in the US, we're very blessed to have a lot of courses that are public that you can go and practice and play for free. Well, practice for free, right? At the putting green or chipping green. To play, you obviously got to pay, but I think it's just like, I hope I'm not turning my children into those country club kids, that have everything, have good clubs, good everything, but I try to tell them, you got to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Humble. Yeah. Very humble. Yeah. Of what you do have, because especially here in Mexico, only really the uber rich can play golf here. I'm not uber rich by anything, not even close, but to play golf here is affordable for me, right? In my family. When we go to the US, it'll still be affordable. We'll find a private course to play at, but yeah, I think it's so important for me because I didn't have anything and I wanted to work at it. I was sleeping in my car before I met my wife, working 3 jobs. I was working at Papa John's, I was caddying, and then I was selling things on eBay and just trying to save up as much money as I can, and all praise to the Most High that he blessed me with this business that I have now, and I can bless others and help others and, and pay for what I've wanted to do and play professionally. Now I don't get to play as many tournaments as I like because I live here in Mexico and my wife doesn't like for me to leave that often. So, but when we go to the US, hopefully next year we'll be in the US, and then maybe it'll change depending on what's going on in this world, so.
It's a great story, boss. I know your family. Your family are some of the nicest people. They're very accommodating. I know how proud they are of you. It's just great to see a person that's actually a genuinely good person, that's changed, that's now grown up into, just a great friend, great mentor overall from that. Let me give you an opportunity to mention maybe some sponsors or some help that you've had along the way, just because I think that's important for the audience to hear.
In golf, man, I think it's so important to have help because it's expensive. The equipment is expensive, right? And if you're a professional, you pretty much need the best. It's hard to play with something that's not that good, So Strixon has helped me since I've been working in the golf industry, indirectly through different people and stuff like that. But they've sent me balls, gloves, hats numerous times throughout my years of playing. Wilson Golf has helped me as well. They sent me clubs last year, some balls, great equipment. Let's see. I want to shout out my coach, Blake Isaacson, sorry, at Right Balance Golf. He and I have been working together for about 3 or 4 months now. Larry Rinker, who helped me last year, who was through Right Balance as well. He played on the PGA Tour for quite a few years. Him and his sister played on the LPGA. Dr. David Wright, who is the inventor of the Right Balance Golf and baseball. So you should go check that out, Right Balance Golf. I think that's about it. But I've over the years, Jason's dad have helped me play in tournaments back in the day. Jason helped me. I couldn't think of how many people's helped me since I've played tournaments. Whether it's just give me $100 here or there to play in a tournament or a couple hundred or whatever it was. I truly want to say thank you to those guys. And now that's why I try to help as many people as I can. I have some people that's interested in sponsoring me this upcoming season. So I'm going to try to do Q School for the PGA Tour in September. It's around $10,000 for everything, but hopefully it pans out. I had somebody that was going to help me last year, but it didn't work out. So we'll see. It's expensive. If you want to play professionally, it's very expensive, So,
yeah.
But
Ezra, where can people find you if they want to learn more about your lifestyle, more about your video game consoles, more about your spiritual walk? Where can people find you?
The business is Retro Games, Toys, and Nostalgia. My Facebook is Ezra Benjamin Evans, I believe. I forget it.
We'll make sure we get the correct one on there.
Yeah, I think this exact same thing on Instagram. And I just opened up a TikTok, and I really don't do much on that, but I don't know if I will. But but those two,
it's
Instagram
more for us
Facebook.
ADHD people, okay, this is perfect, just a few seconds.
Scroll. Yeah. So, and I can give you information if anybody wants to contact me, help with sponsor stuff like that. That'd be great. I can give you my email if you guys like that.
We can put that outside on there for sponsorships and things. Yeah. Hey, Ezra, thank you so much for being with us today. It was a pleasure having you on. Hope to talk again soon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.